cognitive barrier is basically, it's a thinking barrier. So there is too much information, or you find the act of embedding the habit itself too tricky, and you're a bit overwhelmed by it. So an example of a cognitive barrier to eating more vegetables is that I might have a negative belief or a misconception around it. So I might have a misconception like healthy food like vegetables doesn't taste good. Hi there, and a warm welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm Dr. Bree Hearn, host and general nerd about all things habits. Over my 20 plus years working as a writer, educator, researcher, keynote speaker, and coach, I've realized that habits influence everything from our health to our productivity and even our relationships. It was Aristotle, in fact, who said we become what we repeatedly do. On this podcast, you'll learn from inspiring experts as they share the habits and systems that help them live happily, healthily, and to achieve enormous success in their chosen fields. Thanks for being here. I do hope that you enjoy the episode. Hi there, everyone. Thank you for your company on this episode of the Habit Nerd podcast. I am the habit nerd, and basically that means that I am a nerd about all things habits. I'm not a habit expert, but I am somebody who really respects the science and the evidence base and the research into things like behavioral science and into organizational psychology. So basically, what makes people behave in the way that they do. And if you've been a listener to the podcast, you would know that I interview a range of people about their habits. I interview a range of experts in different fields and talk to them about their habits and how they have made them embedded as part of their identity and the strategies they use to help make them stick. And the other reason I am nerding out on this topic is because I am a huge reader and consumer and researcher of the research, and I really take pride in being able to translate that research for you, my listeners, in a hopefully digestible and easy to acquire and easy to manage form in the form of this podcast. Just a reminder that I also do this work with teams, with companies, with organizations, big groups, small groups, school groups, conference presentations around this idea of habits for health, happiness, and high performance. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, to book one of those sessions between now and the end of the year, I'd love to hear from you via DM on the Habit Nerd at Instagram. So let's dive into today's topic. It is a 4-part framework, or 4 reasons that habits don't stick. Now, this episode is informed by Dr. Amantha Imber, who is a psychologist. She's an organizational psychologist. I'm a big fan of Amantha's. She is the host of the How I Work podcast. She was also the author of a really impactful book in my life, which is called Time Wise. Those of you who know me know that I research and speak and coach a lot on habits for managing time and energy at work, and to help people perform at their best and in line with their values. So that was really impactful, really meaningful work in my life. And I've also just read Amantha's book, The Health Habit. Now, this is where these 4 barriers to creating and maintaining a new habit have come from. And the other habit master that I'm going to be referencing in today's episode is James Clear, who most of you would know as the author of Atomic Habits. Now let's go back to Amantha's 4 barriers to behavior change, or 4 barriers to creating a new habit. And I am going to tell you about what these barriers are in the context of a story that is a habit that I am trying to embed in my own life. And hopefully you can, whilst I'm telling my story, you can think about a habit that you would like to embed. And if you're struggling to make it stick, one of these 4 facets will be the problem. I can guarantee you what that is. I can guarantee you that to be true. You need to make a decision in your own brain as a knowledgeable person in the world, which of the barriers it is for you. So, my habit that I am trying to embed and have been trying over a number of years now, and there are, my goodness, a number of times that I've experienced relative success and only to fall off the wagon again, is to eat more vegetables. Now, let me tell you before I break open this habit itself what the 4 barriers are. The first one is a cognitive barrier. The second one, environmental barrier. The third one is a social or an interrelational barrier. And the final is a motivational barrier. So let's use those facets to help me in my story decide which of the barriers is standing in my way. Now, a cognitive barrier is basically, it's a thinking barrier. So there is too much information, or you find the act of embedding the habit itself too tricky, and you're a bit overwhelmed by it. So an example of a cognitive barrier to eating more vegetables is that I might have a negative belief or a misconception around it. So I might have a misconception like healthy food like vegetables doesn't taste good. So because I've got that belief, that barrier, that cognitive barrier in my head, I would be discouraged from even trying to include more vegetables in my meals because I don't think that they're going to taste good. I have got a memory of my mum feeding me boiled Brussels sprouts or, cabbage or something that I just quite frankly find disgusting to taste and to even the memory of the smell and the texture in my mouth. So therefore, a cognitive barrier to eating more vegetables could be that I believe that they can't taste good. Other examples of cognitive barriers could be all or nothing thinking. So it could be problematic if I say things to myself like, if I can't eat 5 vegetables a day all the time, then there's no point. So why even bother? So all or nothing thinking would be a cognitive problem. Another one, this probably is relevant to me, and this is a lack of knowledge. Now, this is about not knowing how to prepare vegetables in ways that I would enjoy. I remember that chef who you might know on SBS called Adam Liao. I really love his work. He said one time in an article I was reading, this was years ago actually, when he was in the height of his MasterChef fame, he said that he challenges himself to make friends that he has over for dinner or family that he has over for dinner and host them for his cooking. And a challenge he sets himself is to make something that they said they hate enjoyable. So an example would be, I would say that I really don't like Brussels sprouts. He would make the challenge for himself of how to make me like Brussels sprouts, what to put them with, how to cook them. I think I have a lack of cooking knowledge around how to make vegetables yummy, because if they are enjoyable for me to eat, I will eat them more often. So I actually think a cognitive barrier for me is a lack of awareness of how to cook vegetables, whether to eat them raw, what sauces to put with them, how to cook them, what to put them in, what food to put them alongside. All of those things are cognitive barriers for me. It just feels a little bit too hard basket. So I might be likely to just stick with what I already know and therefore not gain the variety of the color and all of the reasons that I want to increase the diversity of vegetables that I eat will be really difficult because I have a lack of knowledge there. Another cognitive barrier might be that you have a low perceived benefit of it. So maybe I have a belief that eating more vegetables won't really make a noticeable difference to my health. So therefore, that is standing in the way cognitively of me taking the action. Now, I could shift those barriers by working on my misconceptions, by reframing my thoughts. It would be smart if I tried really small experiments with food preparation, or if I invested in gaining some more information or some skills. Maybe I could set myself a task of watching some YouTube clips about how to prepare a vegetable that I don't like, to be able to get over that knowledge-based barrier that I think might be the problem for me. So that is cognitive barriers, habit nerds. I wonder if you have a new habit that you have been trying to embed, whether you have got some of those cognitive barriers in your way, things like a negative belief or a misconception, all or nothing thinking, lack of knowledge like I have, or you perceive the benefit to the new habit to be not optimum, so a low perceived benefit. Now, the second barrier, as I said at the top of the episode, is environmental barriers. Now, environmental barriers to eating more vegetables are obstacles in a person's surroundings that make it tricky to choose or to access more veggies. So some common ones might be limited access or availability. So maybe you live somewhere where there's not many fresh vegetables nearby, or there is a poor selection or low quality produce in your local shops. I actually find that hard to believe, but that could be an environmental barrier. Another one in this cost of living crisis could be cost and affordability. Fresh vegetables can be expensive, and especially when they're out of season and getting more so. So that is an environmental barrier. Another one is that pre-cut or the convenient options of vegetables might cost more. So maybe I think that it's going to take me too long to cut up the pumpkin to make my pumpkin soup. But if I'm in Coles or Woolies and I see the pre-cut versions on the trays or in the bag, but they cost $12, then I'm not going to buy that. Another environmental barrier is a lack of time or convenience. So things like washing, chopping, and cooking vegetables takes more effort than just grabbing something that's prepackaged or some fast food, for example. And busy schedules like I have lead to, faster and easier meals. So having the time to peel vegetables, chop vegetables, and cook them environmentally, that feels like, as in the environment that I'm setting myself, there's a barrier there. Another environmental barrier could be your home environment. So your family members or the people that you live with, your housemates, don't really like vegetables. Maybe meals are planned without you, so there's not really a habit of including vegetables, or meals are planned without vegetables in them. So it's not the normal practice in your house or in your diet to include many vegetables. And if you do eat out, maybe the cafeteria at work or the restaurant that you go to offers limited or unappealing vegetable options. So that would be an environmental barrier. Another one might be that you lack the space to store fresh produce at home. Maybe you have a small fridge, or your crisper is quite limited in space if you live with other people, maybe as an example. And this one I know is true, is vegetables can spoil quickly if they're not used in time. And I have a huge feeling of guilt and shame when I'm cleaning out my fridge if I look in the crisper and there are vegetables that I had every intention of cooking, and they've gone bad and I have to throw them out. It's wasteful in terms of food wastage, and it's wasteful in terms of money as well. And I don't get great internal feedback when I have to do that. So overcoming environmental barriers to eating more vegetable might be things like changing the setup, because remember, environment is basically your setup. So it could be like prepping vegetables in advance. It could be on a Sunday, getting out the carrots and the broccoli and the beans and whatever it is that you might eat a couple of days that week, and peeling them and chopping them and putting them in glass or plastic containers in the fridge. It could be finding frozen options. If environmental barriers like the time to prepare things is a barrier for you. Frozen options, I hear this over and over with nutrition experts, are just as good. So, get a bag of mixed frozen vegetables from your supermarket. Often it's more cost effective as well. Maybe canned options. I'm less excited by canned options as I am by frozen, but definitely that would overcome an environmental barrier for sure. Another environmental barrier is that they aren't visible and available and ready for me to eat. So there's a reason why this is true of me. I have to be really honest here. when I'm time pushed and I'm hungry, I will grab something packaged that I can unwrap, put in my mouth, and satisfy my hunger straight away. Eating carrot sticks with hummus, as much as I would like that, the taste of that, the barrier for me of going into the fridge, digging underneath the different vegetables that I'm storing in my crisper, getting the carrot out of the bag, getting out the chopping board, getting out the knife and the vegetable peeler, peeling it, chopping it, finding the home. It's too many steps. So environmentally, I haven't made it easy to grab. If the chocolate biscuits are, as soon as I open the cupboard, they're there and I can see them in my eye line and they take no preparation, of course that's going to be my choice. But I don't want that to be my choice. So I have to make things easier to access and I have to hack my environment so that I am more supported in that intention. All right, habit nerds, the third barrier to creating a new habit and maintaining and embedding this new habit in your normal behavior are social or relational barriers. Now, we are social beings. We, whether we admit it or not, whether we like it or not, are influenced by the people around us. There is a reason that we say that there is that saying, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So, a social barrier to eating more vegetables are obstacles that come from people around me. So it might be my family, my friends, the culture that I find myself participating in, or the social settings. So these can all influence habits through pressure, through the norms, or the lack of support. So some examples with eating vegetables might be people around you regularly eat fast food or low vegetable meals. So it is what is cooked around you, or it is what is grabbed or accessed around you in your share house or in your family home. So therefore, you are more likely going to eat that way as well. Another thing is you might feel a bit strange or weird or judged for eating differently. So you might be out for dinner with your friends and they all order burgers and you order a salad and you're embarrassed that they might tease you. I personally wouldn't care if my friend said, "Why are you eating a salad?" I don't think I would have friends who would make me feel awkward for ordering a salad if that's what I felt like eating. But maybe you do, and maybe that is a reason that you would not order something with more vegetables because you're influenced and informed by the people that are around you at that dinner. Family preferences is a big one. If your kids or your partner doesn't like vegetables, you might be more likely to plan meals without them. So it's just too hard basket to get a child to sit and eat vegetables. You're tired at the end of a work day or at the end of a day of caring, and you just need to get the day wrapped up, get everybody into bed so that you can relax. The last thing you're going to do is cook vegetables that are going to be causing you more emotional drain by sitting there and, begging and pleading a child to eat their vegetables. So if your kids or your partner don't like them, you're less likely to plan meals with vegetables in them. Another family preference barrier could be that one person controls the shopping or the cooking and that person doesn't prioritize vegetables. So I can't, I do the shopping in our house predominantly, and my husband loves vegetables, so I really can't blame it on that one. But maybe if you think about a habit you're trying to embed, is there a family social interaction or a preference of somebody that you live with, or a friend or a housemate, or somebody who is influencing your ability to embed a new habit? Cultural food habits, you may participate in a culture that traditional meals don't include many vegetables, and it may feel disrespectful or even unappealing to change these long-standing family recipes. And another one is social events and gatherings. Think about how often you go on a trip with your friends, or how often you go to a party or a barbecue with family or an outing. Often they center around less than nourishing food choices. So often it's meat heavy or processed food, and there are limited veggie options. So as much as we love socializing, and I'm, a person who loves spending time with my friends and with my family, if there are not vegetable options around, I'm going to be less likely to be influenced and say, oh no, I don't want that sausage. I want to go into the kitchen and see if there's some salad, for example. So we're really influenced by the food that is served at social gatherings as well, something to think about. Another one is a lack of encouragement or support. So, this is no one in your circle, your friendship circle, is making nourishing food choices. So, therefore, it might make it harder for you to stay motivated to eat more vegetables. Or others might mock or even dismiss your efforts. So, this is an interesting one. People that you respect and love might say things like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just eat what you want. It's only one meal. You can get back on the train tomorrow." So a lack of support for your drive to embed a new habit is an interesting one, because it really does take a sense of willpower and motivation to ignore what they're saying and to really hold steady and hold firm to your intention to, eat more nourishing food or more vegetables, as is the case with me. Overcoming social barriers could be a strategy like involving your family or your housemates in meal planning, so that it becomes more of a social activity that everybody feels some agency over. Maybe you might find vegetable friendly social recipes, or maybe you would like to connect with others who have similar goals as you. I know I am much more likely to keep an exercise habit if I am exercising with other people that I like who have that same habit. The same can be said for eating vegetables. Even if it's an online community you need to join, there would be hundreds of Facebook groups around people who are trying to eat more vegetables, or who love to cook, or who, are into healthy and nourishing recipes. If you align yourself and put yourself in the environment with people who have your desired behavior as their normal behavior, you will be more likely to engage in those practices. So something you can do is try and find that community where it's already happening and join them. Now, the final barrier to behavior change is motivational barriers. So this is internal blocks that reduce your desire, your drive, or your confidence to make the change, even when you know it's good for you. Now, this is a tricky one, habit nerds, because if we all did what we knew was right for ourselves, we would have no bad habits. So therefore, motivation is a really interesting one. It's about understanding that people are motivated by different things, and that you need to find what motivates you. So, some common ones for vegetables are that you have a lack of interest in them. So they just feel boring, they feel bland, or they don't feel satisfying. It might also be that someone else has said to you, "Brie, I think you need more vegetables in your diet." Just because someone else says it to me, that I'm not saying that to myself. So they are motivated on my behalf, but I am not intrinsically motivated to eat more vegetables. Maybe I don't like the taste or the texture of vegetables, for example. This one is significant. Delayed rewards. For vegetables, the health benefits feel far off or invisible. So I know that eating vegetables today won't really make a difference to my health today. It's the cumulative benefit of including more vegetables in my diet that's probably a couple of weeks away. So this is where it's tricky. And James Clear talks about this. Often, quote unquote, bad habits have immediate gratification, and quote unquote good habits have delayed gratification. And we seek, as humans, immediate gratification. Think about tasting the donut, biting into a delicious donut. The reward is immediate. But if you ate donuts over 6 weeks, you would be delaying those bad health benefits. The opposite is true of eating the carrot. You would bite into the carrot. I know myself, doesn't taste particularly nice, but the benefits for eating the carrot or vegetables over 6 weeks are delayed. So I can't see it immediately. So thinking about how to make the rewards more immediate is a way to hack that motivational barrier. You might have a low self-efficacy, so you may have a low belief in your own ability to embed a new habit. I might say things to myself like, I'm just not a good cook, or I don't know how to make I don't know how to make vegetables taste good. And I might feel overwhelmed by where to start. I might have unclear goals, or it might be a low priority for me. So this is actually true. I know I have to eat more vegetables, but it's not a defined goal. It's just a really vague, I should eat more vegetables. I don't have enough clarity around the why. And don't forget, any motivation is getting super clear on why more vegetables would be beneficial. It also is problematic around motivation when you have competing priorities, so work and kids and stress. I will make sure my emails are answered and I finish the report that I need to submit before I will meal prep or spend that half an hour preparing a really healthy meal with lots of colorful vegetables. So maybe I need to look at my priorities and manage my time with a little bit more efficiency so that I am getting to dinner time and I've hacked my environment and I've hacked my habits earlier on in the week so that it's more likely that I will be able to have a healthy meal and it's on equal priority footing as lots of other aspects of my life, and it's not pushed so far down the list. I might have had some past failures or things like, I've tried this before, I've never stuck with it. So therefore I have that evidence. I have that evidence bank that you always say this, Bree, and you've never been able to do it. What would make this different now? So that negative self-talk is really demotivating. And it might also be that this frustration from my past diet attempts really does reduce that motivation. Also really worth paying attention to that I might have some emotional eating or some comfort habits. And so I might use food as comfort or stress relief, and therefore vegetables don't fit. They don't feel that need for me. They don't fit that role. And I'm aware that when I'm feeling demotivated, cravings will always override good intention. So that would probably go back to hacking my environment and making really small changes and then seeing some benefit. And rewarding myself along the way so that I don't give in to the really easy to access sugary cravings, which will then not make me feel great about myself. Now, overcoming the motivational barriers often involve making small wins, habit stacking, so stacking something that you already currently naturally do with a new habit, making vegetables more appealing, which is something that it's a theme that keeps coming up, and obviously I need to pay attention to that one, and reframing my why so it's personally meaningful. So maybe I need to think about the risk of disease if I don't eat vegetables, or I need to look at somebody in my life or somebody in the community who does eat a lot of vegetables, and maybe I can look at how vital they are in their energy and how they look vibrant and their skin looks clear and they have got, I don't know, clear eyes and healthy hair, and they seem to be able to manage their balance their multiple priorities because of how much energy they have got from the lack of processed food and from all the vitamins and nutrients that are coming from a vegetable-rich diet. Maybe that would motivate me, and it's more personally meaningful than somebody else saying, Bree, you need to eat more vegetables. So there are 4 rules of behavior change that James Clear would tell us. Once we have decided which of the barriers it is, and then we've hacked our habits so that we could overcome the barrier. So a reminder, our barriers are cognitive, environmental, social or interrelational, and motivational. So once we've decided which one it is, and it could be a combination of a couple, then we can think about the general laws of behavior change, and these come from, as I said, James Clear. The first one is to make it obvious. Make a new habit obvious. Make the behavior obvious to undertake. So you design your environment so the cue for your new habit is clear and visible. An example of this would be to put a bowl of fresh vegetables on the counter. I remember back in COVID times when we were locked down in Melbourne and our children were doing home learning, I knew that I would be really busy teaching my university students, and that my children's dad wouldn't be home because he was a school principal and so an essential worker not in the home. I would get up 10 minutes earlier and cut up a plate full of fresh vegetables and fruit, and I would have that on the table for us to snack on while we were working throughout the day, because I knew the visibility and the easy access would be make it more likely that we would engage in those healthy eating practices. Another behavior change cue is to make it attractive. This is pairing the habit with something you enjoy to make it appealing. So for me, it might be adding spices or dips to make vegetables taste more appealing for me. I might put some herbs with my vegetables. I might go to the supermarket, or I might make some dips that would make the vegetables taste a little bit more appealing. So it's about making it attractive. If my habit is to prepare more vegetables, and one of my barriers is that I'm just not having them accessible, then maybe I could do the meal preparation on the weekend, so chopping up the vegetables and storing them whilst I'm listening to my favorite podcast, or whilst I'm listening to a really motivating and fun playlist, so that I'm stacking something that I like to do with something that I'm finding not as desirable, not as appealing. So that's make it attractive. The third one is make it easy. Reduce any friction so that your habit requires as little effort as possible. So going back to my previous example, making it easy, washing and cutting up vegetables in advance. Maybe it's having a couple of recipes on my phone as I'm doing the grocery shopping, so I know exactly the ingredients that I need to buy, and those vegetable rich recipes are completely released of any cognitive effort because the step-by-step is there. I know exactly where to access it, and then by the time I get to cooking it, got all the ingredients at my fingertips. I know exactly what I need to do. So make it easy is the third rule of behavior change. And the final one is make it satisfying. So this is reward yourself or feel a sense of success to reinforce the habit. An example with eating more vegetables might be to track my vegetable servings and to celebrate my consistency. So maybe, and I wouldn't celebrate my consistency by having a bar of chocolate because that would be negating the motivational benefits of being healthier. But maybe if I track on my calendar or in my diary or in any streaking or habit tracking tool is fine. But by the end of 2 full weeks of including vegetables every day, or maybe 1 full week if I think that's more achievable, I might book myself a massage, or I might take myself out for lunch at a local cafe, or I might, do something that is still manageable within my time and my budget, but really is positive reinforcement and a pat on the back, because then my brain will make that very healthy neural pathway between you engaged in this new habit and now you're being rewarded for it. And it might make it more likely that I continue to do that. And maybe I need to reward myself in small ways until that habit has become more aligned with my identity. So it's not a habit anymore. It's just a behavior. It's just a tendency. It's something automatic that I engage in, which is the goal of any habit, to make it embedded into who you are as a person rather than something you have to deliberately do. So just to recap our main points from the episode, today there are 4 barriers to any new habit. 1 is cognitive, 2 is environmental, 3 is social or interrelational, and 4 is motivational. And I thank Amantha Imber for her really clear and impactful work in helping me understand those 4 barriers. And a reminder of James Clear's work in our 4 our 4 aspects of behavioral change: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. I hope you got something out of that episode today. Love to hear from you. Any feedback is welcome over at The Habit Nerd on Instagram. Until I speak with you next time, take care. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Habit Nerd. I hope you found some new inspiration, learned something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you did enjoy the episode, I would be really grateful if you could please leave a 5-star review, as it helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it should only take you 5 seconds. If you're keen for more tips and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow Habit Nerd.